This video explores how the American Revolution transformed subjects of the British Crown into independent citizens, forging a new national identity. The revolution began in the hearts and minds of the people, long before the war. A new environment offered economic opportunity and social mobility. Furthermore, Britain's salutary neglect allowed the colonists experience in self-governance. Britain's victory over France in North America left them with crushing debt. This led to an abrupt change of policy, ending salutary neglect. New taxes were imposed, and the Proclamation of 1763 forbade colonists from settling west of the Appalachians. The Stamp Act of 1765 taxed various documents. The colonists' outrage was rooted in principle. Taxation without representation was tyranny. Resistance groups like the Sons of Liberty formed, led by figures like Patrick Henry. The Boston Tea Party in 1773 was a direct challenge to British rule. Britain retaliated with the, quote, intolerable acts, closing the port of Boston, replacing self-government with martial law, and strengthening the Quartering Act. In response to the intolerable acts, the First Continental Congress met in 1774. Delegates issued a Declaration of Rights, affirmed a trade boycott, and told militias to prepare for war. This marked a pivotal moment of colonial unity. The war began on April 19, 1775. General Gage dispatched troops to seize weapons and arrest Patriot leaders. The British suffered heavy casualties retreating from Lexington and Concord, starting the war known as the Shot Heard Round the World. Thomas Paine's Common Sense, published in the winter of 1775 to 1776, powerfully argued for a complete break with Britain. It questioned hereditary rule and emphasized the absurdity of a continent being governed by an island. On July 4, 1776, the Second Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence. It was a moral pronouncement, a global message of separation, and a statement of rights. It also listed 27 grievances against King George III. The war pitted the Patriot Continental Army, mainly farmers with short enlistment terms, against the global British Empire. The British had a 5 times larger, well-trained army and the world's greatest navy. Public support was divided. The British plan in 1777 was to seize the Hudson River Valley to isolate New England. However, poor coordination led to the surrender of General Burgoyne's army at Saratoga. This victory convinced France to ally with the Americans. The decisive victory occurred at Yorktown in 1781. Washington and Rochambeau trapped Cornwallis's army by land, while the French Navy cut off their escape and supplies at sea. Cornwallis surrendered, effectively ending the war. The Treaty of Paris recognized American independence, but the new nation faced instability under the weak Articles of Confederation. The central government could not tax or regulate commerce, leading to debt, disunity, and economic chaos. The Constitutional Convention met in 1787 to revise the Articles, but decided to scrap them entirely. The framers created the United States Constitution, establishing a federal system with legislative, executive, and judicial branches and checks and balances. The Federalist Papers, written to advocate for the Constitution, argued that a large republic would control the, quote, violence of faction. By encompassing diverse interests, it would be difficult for any single faction to form a tyrannical majority. The Constitution was ratified after proponents pledged to add a Bill of Rights. These first 10 amendments protected individual liberties, solidifying the transformation from a subject dependent on a monarch's will to a citizen endowed with inalienable rights. Historically, the Revolution rejected monarchy and emphasized popular sovereignty through documents like the Declaration of Independence. Today, modern debates over voting rights and representation reflect the ongoing question of how power should rest with the people. Consider this question. How did the American Revolution redefine the idea of government by the people, and how is that principle still challenged today? Colonists protested arbitrary authority and taxation without representation, establishing the basis for liberty and natural rights. The same revolutionary language is echoed today in movements for racial equality, gender rights, and free speech. Consider this question. In what ways did the Revolution's emphasis on individual liberty shape modern civil rights movements? The Revolution's success inspired uprisings globally, proving colonial rule could be overthrown. Modern independence movements and democratic reforms continue to draw on these revolutionary ideals of national sovereignty. Consider this question. How did the American Revolution influence global movements for independence and self-determination? Despite proclaiming that all men are created equal, the new nation allowed slavery to persist. This exposed deep contradictions that influence ongoing conversations about systemic inequality and historical memory today. Consider this question. How did the revolution expose contradictions between ideals of freedom and the reality of slavery? Fear of centralized power led to the system of checks and balances and the Bill of Rights. Current disputes over federal authority, states' rights, and civil liberties trace directly back to Revolutionary-era concerns about tyranny. Finally, consider this question. How does the American Revolution continue to shape debates over the role of government today?